I should have listened to the warnings. That old, weather-beaten sign, half buried in weeds, wasn't there for decoration. The hand-painted letters, fading and cracked, still spelled it out clear enough. Road closed. But we were tired, desperate, and convinced that a shortcut was exactly what we needed. It was supposed to save us 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. That's all. I was behind the wheel, my best friend Alex beside me, two more in the back seat. The GPS was useless. Out here, the signal flickered on and off like a dying firefly, but the map had shown the thin gray line, a smaller road cutting through the woods, reconnecting to the main highway. It looked safe, easy, logical. "This'll shave off half an hour," I'd said, too confident, forcing a laugh that sounded thinner than I wanted. Alex raised an eyebrow, but he didn't argue. Nobody did. We were too tired to argue. The gas tank was dipping lower, the sky was bleeding out the last streaks of daylight, and the thought of a motel bed was too tempting. The asphalt at first looked fine, just cracked in places, choked by weeds. But the deeper we went, the more the road seemed to unravel under the tires, gravel crunching, potholes yawning like black mouths. The trees leaned in close, pressing their bodies together, suffocating the sky. The air grew heavier, as though the woods themselves resented our presence. I tried to shake the feeling, told myself it was just another back road, forgotten and unkept. But when the first sign disappeared, I felt it. That jolt in my chest, the one you feel when you realize you've stepped somewhere you shouldn't. There had been a marker earlier, mile 3. Then another, mile 4. But when I slowed the car and peered into the dimness, there was no mile 5. Just endless trees, swaying slightly though no wind blew. Alex leaned forward, squinting. "Did we miss it?" "No," I said, though my throat felt tight. "Maybe it fell down. Old road, you know." But even as the words left me, I didn't believe them. I pressed the accelerator a little harder. The woods seemed to inhale. Branches clawed at the roof, scraping, dragging, screeching like nails over metal. Every curve of the road looked the same. We should have reached the other side by now, back to the main highway, but the path kept stretching too far. The car's clock blinked 8:47, then 8:52, then 8:59. Nearly 20 minutes on a road that should have been less than 10. The air inside the car grew warmer, sticky with sweat. Nobody spoke much now, just restless shifting, fingers tapping against knees, throats clearing in the silence. I kept catching myself glancing at the rearview mirror, as if something might be following us. But there was nothing, just the tail lights cutting into the black, swallowed by the shadows. And then the road ended. It wasn't gradual. No fading asphalt, no gravel trail tapering off. It was as though someone had taken a blade and severed the pavement in one clean slice. Ahead of us was nothing, just dirt, roots, and the gaping black of the forest floor. I slammed the brakes. Everyone jolted forward, gasps spilling out, curses muffled. The car skidded to a stop inches from the drop. My hands were slick against the wheel. "Jesus Christ," Alex muttered. "It's just gone. Maybe we can turn around," someone whispered from the back. But when I shifted into reverse and twisted the wheel, my blood ran cold. The road behind us wasn't there anymore. It should have been. We had just come down it. But in its place was the same dirt, the same tangle of roots, the same suffocating forest floor. No asphalt, no path, no way back. Panic hit me like a wave. I flung the door open and stumbled out, gravel crunching under my boots. The night air smelled wrong, like metal and rot, thick enough to taste. My breath clouded, even though the air was warm. I turned in circles, my chest heaving. The car's headlights carved a narrow tunnel of light, and beyond that, nothing. No road, no signs, no trace of where we had been. The trees loomed taller, darker, as though they'd drawn closer when we weren't watching. Every creak of a branch, Every rustle of unseen leaves felt intentional, like the forest was mocking us. What the hell is happening? Alex's voice cracked, his face pale in the headlights. This isn't possible. Nobody answered. Because what could we say? We all felt it. That creeping, suffocating truth settling into our bones. This wasn't a shortcut. It was a trap. A perfect snare dressed up as a road, waiting for someone desperate enough, tired enough, arrogant enough to take it. And we had taken it. I climbed back into the driver's seat, my hands trembling. The silence in the car was thick, only broken by shallow breaths and the low hum of the engine. I put the car in drive, staring at the forest wall in front of us, the yawning dark, the soil shifting like something underneath was moving. "Now what?" someone whispered. I didn't answer, because I didn't know. All I knew was that the forest wasn't just holding us here. It was waiting for us to realize we had already lost. I don't know how long we sat there, staring into the suffocating dark. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. Time had stopped making sense the moment the road vanished. At last, I forced myself to move. I put the car in a drive and pressed the pedal, inching us forward onto the raw earth. The wheels bumped and jolted against roots, spitting dirt. It was reckless, maybe suicidal, but sitting still felt worse. Sitting still meant waiting for the forest to decide what it wanted from us. The further we went, the less the headlights seemed to matter. They stretched only a few feet ahead, swallowed whole by the black, as though the night itself was drinking the light dry. I leaned forward, eyes aching, searching for anything, any break in the trees, any glimpse of a new path. But the forest offered only more of itself. Branches lashed at the sides of the car, screeching against the metal. The sound made my skin crawl. It didn't feel random. It felt like claws, like something dragging its nails just to hear us flinch. From the back seat, Jamie whispered, "We should stop. Just stop. Wait for morning." I wanted to believe morning would come, that the sun could reach this place. But when I glanced at the clock on the dashboard, my throat tightened. 9:43. Then 9:43 again. Then 9:43 once more. The numbers flickered, stuttered, looped. Time wasn't moving. Alex swore under his breath, yanking his phone from his pocket. No signal, no bars, just a blank screen, as if the battery had drained in seconds. He tried again and again, his fingers trembling, but nothing. My knuckles whitened around the wheel. "We keep going," I said, though the words felt thin, cowardly. "There's got to be an end." But the end never came. The car groaned, tires thudding over uneven ground. I don't know how long I drove, minutes, hours, days. Every time I thought I recognized a tree, a crooked trunk, or a hanging branch, another appeared exactly like it. Over and over. Didn't we just pass that? Jamie's voice quivered. "No, primer liegt." But the truth pressed harder with each mile. The forest was folding in on itself. The path wasn't leading us out. It was looping, circling, pulling us deeper. Alex slammed a hand against the dashboard. "We're going in circles. Don't you see? We're stuck. We're not getting out." The panic in his voice clawed into me, but I kept driving. What else could I do? Then the car stuttered. The engine coughed, sputtered, and the fuel light glowed red. The needle kissed empty. My chest clenched. We hadn't driven that far. Not far enough to drain the tank. I pulled to a stop, silence roaring around us. No insects, no owls, not even a whisper of wind. Just dead, heavy quiet. Jamie whimpered softly in the back. "Please, let's just get out. Walk. Maybe if we walk." "Walk where?" I snapped, louder than I intended. My voice cracked, sharp with fear. "There's nothing out there. You think walking will help." But even as I said it, I knew staying inside was worse. The air in the car had grown stifling, thick with sweat and fear. Every shadow pressed against the glass like it wanted in. Reluctantly, I killed the engine. The headlights blinked out, plunging us into suffocating black. For a second, I couldn't breathe. The forest swallowed us whole. We stepped out together, flashlights clicking on, beams slicing through the dark. The trees glared back, unblinking. Their bark looked too smooth, too human, like skin stretched too tightly. I couldn't stop staring at the shapes they formed in the corners of my vision. Faces, jaws, hollow eyes. But every time I tried to focus, they dissolved into plain wood. We walked, one foot in front of the other, crunching leaves, breath sharp and shallow. For the first few minutes, I clung to hope. Maybe the path would reveal itself on foot. Maybe the forest was only twisted for cars. But after what felt like hours, we returned to the car. It sat there, headlights off, exactly where we'd left it, though I could have sworn we'd walked straight ahead the whole time. Alex cursed, spinning in circles, kicking dirt. No, 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 no. This isn't real. Jamie started to cry, muffling the sound into her sleeve. The forest seemed to inhale with her sobs, the branches trembling as though delighted. I tilted my head back, staring at the sky, or where the sky should have been. But there was nothing above. No stars, no moon, just more dark, pressing down like a lid on a coffin. That's when it sank in. This place wasn't bound by rules. Not time, not distance, not direction. Forward, backward, it didn't matter. Every path led back to itself. Every step carried us deeper. Alex grabbed my shoulder, his eyes wild. We can't leave. Don't you get it? It's one way. One way in. No way out. The words lodged in my throat, heavy as stone. Because I knew he was right. We weren't lost. We were trapped. And the forest wasn't letting us go. The deeper we moved into the woods, the more it felt like stepping into a world that had been rotting for centuries, waiting for us to stumble in. The flashlight beams shook in our hands, narrow tunnels of light cutting through the black. But the darkness between those beams felt alive, like something thick and heavy pressing in on us, threatening to smother the glow. At first, I told myself it was just a forest, just trees. But the longer we stayed, the less they looked like trees. Their trunks rose like skeletal pillars, too thin in some places, grotesquely swollen in others, bark peeling like burned flesh. Branches twisted overhead, tangling together until they resembled cages, the kind built to keep things in, not out. And the silence, it was unbearable. Not the peaceful silence of night, but the choking kind, the absence of sound that screamed louder than any noise. I strained my ears, desperate for the rustle of leaves or the chirp of an insect, but there was nothing. Just our breathing, sharp and uneven, echoing back at us as though the woods were mocking every gasp. Jamie clung to my arm, trembling. "It's too quiet," she whispered, her voice cracking. I nodded, but I didn't dare speak. My throat was tight, my tongue dry. It felt like words themselves would anger the forest, like speaking too loud would wake something hidden in the dark. We kept walking, though every step felt heavier, slower, as though the ground itself resisted us. Roots coiled across the soil like veins, tripping our feet, tugging at our ankles. More than once, I swore I saw them twitch, slither back into the dirt before anyone else noticed. Alex cursed under his breath, shining his light on the nearest trunk. The bark was carved, not with initials, not with the harmless graffiti of hikers, but with long, jagged scratches. They dug deep into the wood, too deep, like claws had raked the surface. The marks were fresh. Animals, I muttered, though even I didn't believe it. Alex shook his head slowly. His lips parted, but no words came out. His face had drained of color, his jaw set tight. The path narrowed the further we went, trees leaning closer, branches brushing against our shoulders, hair, faces. Their touch wasn't gentle. It was deliberate, scraping skin, snagging clothes. I swore I heard one of them whisper my name, low and sharp, carried on a breath that wasn't there. I spun around, flashlight beam cutting through the dark, but nothing was behind me. Just more trees, more black. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was watching. Not with one pair of eyes, but with hundreds, thousands. Every knot, every hollow, every gap in the branches glowed faintly like sockets, empty and hungry. We tried to pick up the pace, but the faster we walked, the slower the forest seemed to let us move. Our legs ached, lungs burning, but when I looked behind us, the car was still there. No matter how far we thought we'd gone, the damn car lingered like a specter, headlights off, waiting. Panic built like fire in my chest. I grabbed Jamie's hand, pulling her forward. Alex followed close behind, muttering under his breath, curses blending with prayers. The air grew thicker with every step, clinging to our skin like oil, heavy and foul. That's when I noticed the shadows. At first, they were just tricks of the light cast by our flashlights against the trees. But slowly, carefully, they began to move differently. When my hand shook, the shadow didn't. When Alex lifted his flashlight, the shadow didn't follow. I froze. My breath hitched. The shadows stretched long across the trunks, bending, twisting, writhing like worms pinned under glass. Jamie whimpered, "They're not ours." I wanted to deny it, to tell her it was exhaustion, nerves, anything. But then one of the shadows smiled. Its teeth gleamed in the dark, sharp and jagged, though the tree it clung to had no mouth. My knees buckled. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stifle the scream rising in my throat. The shadows began to peel away from the trees. Slowly, silently, they lifted, forming shapes. Arms, legs, heads. They swayed like they were made of smoke, but their eyes burned faintly, glowing embers in the dark. We staggered backward, but the forest offered no escape. The trees closed in, branches knitting tighter, the air humming with something I felt more than heard. A vibration that rattled my teeth, clawed at my bones. One of the shadows stepped forward, its movements jerky, unnatural, as though it didn't understand the body it was wearing. Another followed, then another. Dozens, maybe more. Jamie screamed. The sound shattered the silence, sharp and raw, echoing through the woods. The shadows twitched at the noise, heads snapping toward her in perfect unison. "Run!" I shouted, my voice breaking. We bolted. Branches whipped against my face, thorns tearing at my skin, but I didn't care. The shadows slithered behind us, too fast, too many. Their footsteps didn't crunch the earth. They didn't breathe. They didn't stumble. Every glance over my shoulder filled me with terror. They were gaining. Their mouths gaped open now, wide enough to split their faces in half, teeth stretching into impossible grins. The forest roared with silence. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out everything else. My lungs burned, legs shaking, but I couldn't stop. None of us could. And then, the flashlight in my hand flickered. Once. Twice. Then it died. Darkness swallowed me whole. I staggered, blind, crashing into roots clawing at the air. My scream caught in my throat. I couldn't see Alex. Couldn't see Jamie. Couldn't see anything. Just the dark. And in that blackness, something cold and rough brushed my arm. Fingers long, bony, impossible fingers closing around me. I didn't breathe. Couldn't breathe. The forest had found us, and it wasn't letting go. I don't remember how we broke free from that first swarm of shadows. Maybe we never did. Maybe they just let us go. All I know is 1 second, I was screaming in the dark with their hands reaching for me, and the next, the flashlight sputtered back to life, its weak beam carving a thin path through the black. Jamie clung to my arm, her breath ragged, eyes wide and glassy. Alex stumbled behind us, face pale, muttering that it wasn't real. None of it was real. But it was every bruise, every cut on our skin, every rasp in our throats screamed that it was. We tried to retrace our steps. That was the only plan left. Find a car, get inside, lock the doors, and pray the engine would turn over. But the forest had changed again. The road was gone. I don't mean the dirt path we'd been trudging. I mean every trace of it, erased. The soil was smooth, untouched, no tire marks, no footprints. It was as if the forest had healed itself, swallowed our trail whole. Alex pulled out his phone again. He didn't even bother checking for signal this time. He just opened the compass app, desperate for direction. The arrow spun wildly, clicking from north to south to east in frantic loops. He shook it, cursed, slapped the screen. The arrow only spun faster, like it was laughing at him. Jamie broke down crying. We can't even tell which way we came from. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her we'd figure it out. But my own chest was tightening, my own legs trembling, because I've been watching closely, scanning the trunks, the roots, the spaces between branches, and there were no signs anymore. None. Earlier, we'd seen the mile markers. Strange, hand-painted symbols carved into the wood. They'd seemed unsettling then, but now I would have given anything to see one again. Something. Anything. But the forest was blank, wiped clean, as though it didn't want us to know where we were. We're not lost. Alex snapped suddenly, voice sharp, too loud in the silence. He pointed deeper into the woods, where the trees leaned like crooked teeth. We just need to keep straight. That's all. Straight. But there was no straight. Every direction looked the same. And worse. The trees themselves seemed to move when we weren't watching. I swore the crooked one we'd just passed was now ahead of us again, tilted at the same eerie angle. Still we walked. What else could we do? Minutes bled into hours, or what felt like hours. My flashlight flickered, batteries dying, and every time the beam dimmed, my heart seized, terrified of what I'd see in the dark. The air thickened, humid and suffocating, sticking to our skin like glue. The silence pressed harder, so dense it made my ears ring. Then I saw it. A sign. It leaned against a tree up ahead, half hidden by roots. My breath caught. I sprinted forward, ignoring Alex's shouts, Jamie's sobs. My light fell across the wood, and I nearly dropped the flashlight. The sign didn't say Mile 5 or Trailhead, or anything like that. It was crude, hand-carved, the letters jagged and splintered. Keep going. That was all. Alex reached me, panting, glaring down at it. What the hell does that mean? I shook my head. My pulse thundered. Maybe someone else was here before. Maybe they left it to help. But even as I spoke, I knew I was lying. The letters were too sharp, too fresh. The wood hadn't aged, hadn't rotted. It was as though the forest had made it just for us. Jamie pointed a trembling finger at the base of the tree. Her voice cracked. Look, carved into the roots beneath the sign were 4 small shapes. 4 figures. Crude, childlike drawings of people holding hands. 4. There were 4 of us when we started this trip. Now there were 3. I staggered back, ball rising in my throat. My mind scrambled, flipping through memories I couldn't grab hold of. Who had been with us? A 4th seat filled, laughter in the car, a voice in the dark. But the harder I tried to remember, the more it slipped away, dissolving like smoke. Jamie screamed. I spun around, nearly dropping the flashlight. The sign was gone. The tree was bare again. No carving, no figures, nothing. Just smooth bark, blank and silent. Alex swore, shoving at the trunk as if that would bring it back. But there was nothing to push against. It was gone. We kept moving, because stopping felt worse. My legs shook, my chest ached, but I couldn't stop. Not here. Not where the forest erased its own warnings. More signs appeared as we walked, flickering in and out like mirages, some carved into wood, others scrawled on scraps of metal hanging from branches. No turning back. They're behind you. You shouldn't be here. Every time I blinked, they vanished. Every time I looked away, the trees were blank again. The forest was toying with us, leaving breadcrumbs we couldn't trust. Jamie collapsed at one point, knees hitting the dirt, sobbing into her hands. Alex tried to pull her up, but she shook him off, screaming at the trees, at the dark, at nothing. Her voice cracked and broke until it was raw. Then the forest answered, not with words, with a sound, a faint clicking, steady and rhythmic, like stones tapping together. From everywhere, from nowhere, it echoed through the trees, weaving between trunks, bouncing off roots. My blood ran cold. The clicking grew louder, faster, like it was moving closer. Run, I whispered. We ran, blind and desperate, lungs burning. The forest blurred around us, signs flashing in the dark like strobe lights. Keep going. Don't stop. Too late. The clicking chased us, louder, closer, filling my skull until it drowned out thought itself. And then, silence. We stumbled into a clearing. For a moment, relief surged in my chest. Open space. Air. A break from the suffocating trees. But when my light swept across the clearing, my stomach dropped. Every tree around us was covered in signs. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Carved deep into the bark, hammered onto metal, painted in red across the wood. No way back. No way back. No way back. Over and over. A wall of warnings. A chorus etched into the forest. Jamie screamed again, curling into herself, rocking back and forth. Alex stared, eyes wide, lips trembling. I stood frozen, breath shallow, staring at the words until my vision blurred. Because for the first time, I understood. The forest wasn't guiding us. It was teaching us. No maps, no signs, no escape. There was only one truth here. No way back. At first, I thought it was Jamie whispering. Her head was bowed, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. But then I realized her lips weren't moving. The voice came from the trees. Low, trembling like breath dragged through teeth. A whisper, but sharp enough to cut. Keep moving. I froze, scanning the darkness. The sound didn't come from one direction. It came from all of them, slipping between the branches, crawling along the roots. Alex grabbed my arm, his nails digging into my skin. Did you hear that? I nodded, throat too dry to answer. The whisper came again, closer. Keep moving. Jamie finally looked up, eyes wide, pupils blown black. That's not my voice, but it sounds like me. And she was right. The voice wasn't hers, but it was close. Uncomfortably close. The cadence, the tremble, it was almost a perfect imitation. Alex turned pale. Don't listen. It's trying to lead us. I wanted to agree, but then the forest changed tactics. A new voice. Deeper. Stronger. My father's. You can't stop here, son. You have to keep moving.